This is episode 56 with Stefanie Cantu.
Welcome to Spot On Insurance. Join us each week as we speak to insurance professionals, attorneys, regulators, and compliance specialists on topics ranging from improving your agency to staying on the right side of the law. Subscribe and stay informed on the effects of new trends and disruptive emerging technologies on your businesses and your industry.
Stefanie Cantu is a supervisor at Insurance Licensing Services of America. ILSA is considered the #1 licensing and compliance provider in the United States. Stefanie began her insurance career by joining the intake team in 2008. She shortly thereafter joined the renewals team and later was promoted to the licensing team. Stefanie is the go-to person for complex licensing matters at ILSA. Stefanie, welcome to Spot On Insurance.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Stephanie, I'm so excited that you're going to be here with us today, and just take us through your career journey, how you started, and tell us a little bit about where you are today.
I started my journey in insurance licensing and compliance at the young age of 20, almost 10 years ago. It'll actually be 10 years in July. I was new to the area, and people let me know that there was an opening at ILSA, so I decided to give it a shot, even though I did not have any insurance experience at all.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Stephanie, take me back to that moment, like when you started at ILSA and you knew nothing about licensing and compliance. What was that feeling like for you?
It was intimidating. Being so young, all I had experience in before that was I had a son young, so I was a young mother. I did waitressing and I went to school, but I had no idea what I was walking into or what I was about to get myself into. But like I said earlier, my 10-year anniversary is coming up, so I'm excited that I was able to push through and just use that drive and determination to better myself, to grow in the insurance industry, and to grow as a person in general. It's been a blessing.
So, I mean, a lot of the people that listen to Spot On Insurance are new to the industry. Mm-hmm. So I know that even when we have new hires, the terminology sometimes is like, what the heck are people talking? Like it's like Greek, right?
It is. It really is.
And you see that with the new people that come into your team, right?
Oh yeah, all the time. And I try to tell them, I've been there. I've been in your shoes. I know how confusing it can be, or how you feel like you're never going to get it, because that's how I felt.
Right.
But we just kind of work through it, and it's all about determination and giving yourself that opportunity to learn. You know, if you're open-minded and you go in feeling like I can do this, then you can do it. And that's what we're there, is to help each other out and to help each other grow and mold each other. And like I said, it's been a journey, but it's been a fun and definitely a good one.
Can you point to some of the challenges that you've had?
Sure. Just like with every other job and every other person, you know, we all face challenges. I still face some daily, actually, but I would say the biggest...
No, not in licensing and regulatory compliance.
Yes.
You face challenges in
It's
that?
a shocker, huh? No, I would say the biggest challenge to deal with is just adapting to adversity. You know, just like with everything else, everything's always changing. Rules are changing. States are changing. Their expectations are changing. Their fees are changing. We actually just got an email today about something. Just adapting to all of those changes, I would say, is probably the biggest challenge that we face here in the insurance industry.
I mean, you just mentioned that you actually got an email letting you know of a change that's taking place at one of the states.
Yes.
I want to talk to you about one of your passions. Tell me about what you're passionate about right now.
Oh it's my favorite time of the year. Let me tell you that. Baseball. It keeps me consumed and busy from the months of March to July. After work, I go from insurance industry 8 to 5 to baseball mom 5 to 10. I mean, we're constantly busy. I have 2 sons that play. I grew up watching it with my dad and my grandpa, so I've always been a huge sports fan in general, but we've definitely gone to several baseball games. I've gotten my kids involved and they both love it. They play it. And like I said, this is my favorite time of the year. Not only can we watch it on TV, but we can also, we take our boys and get them out there playing and practicing and getting them ready for the season. So that's definitely my favorite.
Fantastic. Describe yourself as a mom. How do you stay in control?
And Stephanie, let me just say this. I have actually seen you out there with Xavier and Christopher out on that field. So tell us about what it's like.
Oh, it's it's definitely a game changer. It goes from, like I said, insurance mind all day long, and then kind of rechanneling and focusing on kids. And my oldest is 13. My youngest is 6. So we help coach both of those ages. One's T-ball, one's boy pitch. It's completely different worlds. But we have to just kind of remain calm, remain patient. We're passionate, but we try to not express it in a way where it could intimidate the kids or kind of make them look at us crazy. But there are definitely times where I have lost my mind a little bit over it. But I like to say it's all because I'm passionate. That's what I'm going to fall back on anyway.
Stefanie, what's your favorite major league team?
Ooh, okay. So don't tell my dad this, but I pull for both my Texas teams, the Rangers and the Astros. My dad raised me to be a huge Houston fan. We lived there for a couple of years when I was younger. So I'm always, rooting for the Astros for sure. But since moving to this area and meeting my husband, I've become a Rangers fan as well. So that's why I say don't tell my dad, because he's all about the Astros. But I definitely have a soft spot for both those teams in my heart.
Fantastic. All right, we're going to get serious. I want to chat with you today about the agency principal that's been operating in a few states and now wants to step into the big leagues. They want to operate nationwide.
Our listeners are going to want to know the bottom line. I definitely want you to jump into this and talk to us about state fees. So how much does it cost to get an individual licensed in all states? Let's say for like property and casualty and surplus lines. Tell us how much it costs for the agency, and then how much are we looking for in Secretary of State fees?
Property, casualty, surplus lines, those are really popular licenses. Especially nowadays, we've been seeing lots of insurance agencies and individuals come to us with that need. So the state fee for an individual, I would say, is roughly about $15,000. For the agency to get licensed for PC and surplus lines, their state fees are about $14,000. And then to get the agency registered with the Secretary of State in all states, that's about $3,000.
So about $33,000 is the cost in state fees for Secretary of State and insurance departments. And I've actually had agents that have told me that that's just a drop in the bucket when they compare it to their earning potential. Another thing I want to chat about is, Stefanie, let's say a client comes to you and says, I want to get licensed in all states. And let's just keep it with PNC and surplus lines. And they tell you that they're already licensed in about 5 to 7 states. And they've had those licenses for several years. They know that they have it for their individual and for their agency. How do you proceed?
We've had that scenario before. We actually see that quite often where people come to us already licensed in a couple of states. But our first step is to always run a PDB report. That's going to show us where they actually are licensed and what their current status is. Some people think once they get a license that that's it. And unfortunately, we have to be the bearer of bad news and tell them, okay, you once had that, but not anymore.
Spot On is sponsored by Insurance Licensing Services of America. Need help with corporate name changes, annual returns, or surplus lines tax filings? Feeling overwhelmed? If you're looking for experts in regulatory compliance, you've come to the right place. ILSA provides the industry with over 50 services. To learn more about the company and how they can help, visit ilsainc.com.
What's the reason for the PDB? What's the importance of that?
Well, the importance of it, not only does it tell us where they're licensed and the history of their licenses, it also gives us information on their names, if they were ever previously named or had a DBA somewhere else, and their addresses and their background questions.
Do you find that what you find in the PDB differs from what the client knows?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. There are some that are pretty spot on and they have their ducks in a row, but there's a lot that think that they do. And then once they come into our services and we run that report and scrub their records really good, we come to find out that they may be good in some states, but not in others. So we kind of do, like I said, a big scrub, not only to check their license statuses and their addresses and background, things like that, but we also check their statuses with the Secretary of State and the Departments of Revenue, because some of that information doesn't pull on the PDB. So we'll kind of look at that manually and report that all back to the client so that they can know what holes are they missing? What's the project really going to be? What do we really need to do? Because like I said, sometimes it turns out to be more than what they initially thought.
So let's say you've taken care of any address discrepancies, kind of become aware of any administrative actions, and you're ready to start the project. Tell me, from the date of submission, what's the earliest they should expect to start getting a new license?
So as long as there aren't any background related questions, then they should be able to start seeing some states getting issued as quickly as 24 to 48 hours. There are some that issue pretty fast and even in the same day, but I would say 24 to 48 hours is a really good estimate for those that don't have any background related issue.
Okay, from date of submission, what's typically the last license that gets issued?
Well, that's a tricky question. There are a handful of states that will take longer for different reasons. There's about 10 states or so that you can't even apply for the agency's license until they are registered with the Secretary of State. So right there, that can cause a delay.
Okay, I'm gonna mess with your mind for a minute. Can you tell me what those 10 states are?
Sure. Alabama, DC, Georgia, Idaho, Massachusetts, Montana, North Dakota, New York, Virginia, and Vermont.
Awesome.
Yeah. So be prepared for those delays. And then, like I said, that's not all. That's a big part of the delay, but also New York, for whatever reason, they still like to do things the old school way, and they require agencies to submit a paper application. So as you know, electronic applications versus paper, historically paper is going to take longer. So there's another delay as well. And then dependent on different reasons, you may be required to get fingerprints done in California and Florida. So like I said, it's not really a straightforward answer as to which state's going to be last because it just kind of depends on different circumstances.
Let's just say someone out there is doing this on their own. They got all these licenses. Are they done? I mean, are they good forever?
Don't we wish it could all be that simple? No, unfortunately, they're not done forever. Some people might think that they are, but they're not. So now they're responsible for over 100 licenses, and that's exciting. But the other side of it is it's a huge responsibility. There's only a handful of states that are perpetual as long as they remain good in their home state. But the rest all have to be renewed at one point or another, and they're not all due at the same time. So it's really important to have a very organized, robust system in place so that you can keep up with all of those license renewals, keep up with when they're due, how much they're going to cost, budget everything. So it's really important that people understand that it's more to it than just obtaining the license. Obtaining it's the first part, but after that comes more responsibilities. Not only that, but they have to also be aware that if they do happen to miss any, then it could possibly cancel their license, make them start over. It could cause late fees to be added. And unfortunately, it could even lead to administrative action. So we try to always tell our clients, we can get you these licenses, but we've got to help maintain them as well, or make sure that you have a system in place to maintain them because, like I said, there's a lot more to it than just getting the licenses.
Okay, so let's just say that they've got that. They've got a licensing renewal system down pat. Are they good to go now?
They're getting closer, but not quite yet. Not only do they have to maintain the renewal of the license, but they also have to keep in mind the registrations with the Secretary of State. There's annual reports due. There's corporate taxes due with the Department of Revenue. There's more to it than just license renewals. So they have to keep up with those rules and those regulations as well and make sure that they maintain good standing with that regulator's rules and expectation.
So they really have to have a really robust system. So they're keeping track of their licenses. They're keeping track of their Secretary of State filings and their Department of Revenue filings.
Yes.
So they're renewing and needing to be filed throughout the year.
Oh, yeah.
So have to have a very robust system.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Stefanie, I know that you talk to the insurance departments every single day.
Oh, yeah.
Is there just someone or some folks that have been just a delight for you to work with?
I do talk to them all the time. We're calling different states for different things, trying to get statuses of stuff, trying to clarify things. So in the 10 years that I've been working in this industry, I've definitely chatted with some very special, helpful people. I would say the one that stands out the most in my head, her name is Stefanie also. What a coincidence.
Oh.
Her name is Stefanie Garrity, and she's out of the Connecticut Department of Insurance. She works in the renewals department, and that's when I was working in renewals here at ILSA. That's when I'm connected with her. And that was, goodness, I would say 8 years ago, if not longer. And we've remained friends since then. We became very close. Anytime I find myself in a pickle or just needing something urgent from her office, I know that because I've maintained that relationship with her, I can give her a quick call or email, and she's very easy to work with and very helpful.
Wow. Awesome.
Yes. What gem. What really sweet piece of advice. What Arlene calls beam of light. Can you share with someone out there that's just entering or is considering entering the insurance industry?
I would say the key to it is organize. That's going to be the main thing that you will need to remember and to follow when you're jumping into this type of industry. Like we spoke earlier, there's so many changes happening all the time throughout. So as long as you're organized and determined to get through and to continue to learn, because it's a daily thing. Like I said, I've been doing this for 10 years and I'm still learning every day. So as long as you remain driven and determined and organized, I think that would be the best advice I can give.
Fantastic.
That's awesome advice.
Okay, Stefanie, I am in the spot-on circle of insurance professionals here. I belong to this wonderful group. I listen to this podcast regularly. I'm listening to you right now, and I need help. How do I get in touch with you?
Sure, you can give me a call. My direct number is 254-729-6139, or you can shoot me an email with any of your questions, and that's scantu, CANTU, @ilsainc.com.
Stefanie, I want to really thank you for the information that you shared with our spot-on circle of insurance professionals. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, definitely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for all that valuable information that you shared with our listeners today, Stefanie.
Anytime.
Visit spotoninsurance.com, where you'll discover an ever-growing library of podcasts, videos, articles, and online tools by professionals for professionals to enhance your insurance education. By the way, that's where you'll also find our podcast notes and bonus resources. Please don't forget to click the iTunes link to rate and review, and let others know what you think of Spot On Insurance. Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you next week.